Hey everyone, it's El Hayes. Today I want to talk about some tips and tricks that may help you get into streaming and realize that the barrier to entry is actually really low and you can get started. Without further ado, let's get into the video. I think it's important to recognize that overwhelmingly there's a distinction in at least two groups of streamers. In my mind, I overall see the group of personality streamers and skill-based streamers. I'm going to explain the difference between them and also that there's a spectrum and total overlap. There are streamers that occupy varying parts of the spectrum on that. But if you see them as two distinct groups initially, that may help you get started and recognize what may work for you starting off as a new streamer. As personality streamers, we are typically hyper-focused on the entertainment factor more than teaching you how to do something, if that helps, or showcasing something we're really good at. That's just not my focal point when I stream. I also want to build like a normal fire. I'm catching things on fire. What? 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 Help. 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 What? No! I didn't want this. And that is why I put myself in the personality category, at least most of the time. Obviously, there can be crossover. When I'm doing music stuff, that is something I view myself as being talented at, or at least having more of a skill set with, and therefore I would be more on the spectrum for that particular type of content. But overall, I am on the personality side. I'm loudmouth. I'm here just to give you a bunch of good laughs. You can watch me scream as I panic over nothing, but you're not coming here to see me be the best at beating all the bosses in a speedrun. Now let's talk about skill-based streamers. So for that, I think of people who are the go-to for speedruns, who are really good at art and showcasing their work to the world, that they've clearly developed these skills over a period of time, and they're not just dabbling in the way that a lot of us personality streamers may more dabble. Some examples of that are Lethal3, who is the go-to Bloodborne speedrun streamer. He hasn't been streaming as much anymore, but that is who I would go to for my Bloodborne speedrun info. I also think of Zomatu when it comes to art, and they specifically both showcase what I want to move into in terms of gear and why finding the distinction in the two groups is helpful when you're starting out to determine if you can succeed without the gear you may view as needing starting off as a streamer. A lot of the time you'll look up streaming tips and tricks and you'll get all the big name streamers telling you that you don't need a lot of stuff, but they'll still say, I recommend having a camera, I recommend having some form of audio. Everyone overall is very good at saying not to spend too much money, but I would almost say even kind of do less, if that makes sense. Zomatu is a great example of a skill streamer who does not go overboard in the gear that they don't need. They do not use a Facecam and they do not use a microphone. And it does not at all detract from their content and what they're able to create and the community they've successfully built. And that is because they are a skill streamer. Because they are a skill-based streamer, I wholeheartedly believe that they can get away with not having a microphone, get away with not having a Facecam, because their work speaks for itself. As a personality streamer, I don't necessarily have as much leeway in terms of gear. I, in a sense, rely a little on having some kind of production value. I'm not going to claim this is best production value ever. I see currently the skin tone issues I'm having. My backdrop's not great. I am currently living in limbo. I just moved, and the final location of my office is not ready for me yet. Anyway, but I do have a decent microphone. I have the Facecam from Elgato. I am utilizing things to help the audience feel connected to me as a person because I'm a personality streamer. I need you to connect to me on a human level. Zomatu doesn't need that, and Lethal doesn't need that either. You're there for Lethal speedrunning Bloodborne and learning the fastest way to get through all of the bosses. So he doesn't need to have a face cam because the content, yet again, speaks for itself. It's providing all the value right there. I also want to clarify that that doesn't mean I think neither of them are also personality streamers. They both have personalities. I'm not at all claiming that people are just deadpan giving you information or not interacting at all with their communities. They 1000% are. But in just the grouping that I'm doing, this might help you as you start off seeing what you can get away with. I will also mention that there are personality streamers that do not use face cams at all. Sorry, that don't use cameras at all. I keep saying just face cams as if that's a colloquial term. It is not. There are a lot of streamers who do not use cameras despite being personality streamers. One example of that, or even someone who's a personality skill mix, I think of Hayes. That's right, we semi-share a name. Shout out to Hayes in the Hayes Forest. I think it's Hazy Forest, my bad. But Hayes does not use a camera. They actually have one of those virtual buddies at the bottom that the mouth of that character moves when they speak into their microphone. So they have a microphone, they're speaking with chat, you still feel connected to the streamer, it's just not in the way that I'm doing it. And the reason I wanted to create this distinction between the skill and personality streamers, and also why I wanted to mention the gear expectations, is because I think a lot of the time what prevents new people from entering the streaming space is they think that they need to put a lot more into their initial setup. And while I know big streamers are also beating it into the ground that you do not need a lot of gear, I even want to lessen that. I know a streamer, Evil, who does not use a microphone or a camera and streams art directly from their tablet. And that's it. They'll type in chat. So I just want to remind you that even when you think that the bar is only this low and you're only able to obtain this amount of gear or items needed for what you believe is required for streaming, this is an obtainable level. And this is a level at which you can start streaming at. And that's totally doable. A piece of gear I want to mention that isn't directly related to being a skill or personality streamer is I use an Ethernet, or did use. Currently, I'm directly plugged in, so I'm using complete Ethernet. But I had this little thing at my apartment, and when I first started streaming, that was an Ethernet to electricity converter, and it is a godsend. So it plugs into an electrical outlet, plugs into the back of my computer, and then the other side will plug into your router and plug into the wall on that side. Doesn't matter where they are, obviously. The more direct shot the electric line is between those two outlets, the better connection you're going to have. But this is the best way for you to have the fastest internet speed without being directly plugged in. So I highly recommend it, and I don't know why more people don't know about it. Very helpful. The other tip I wanted to give has to do with revenue streams. Having multiple revenue streams will greatly benefit you as a streamer. And even if you're just thinking of this as a hobby, just remember that a lot of the time, especially if you're a creator, money is being put into things even if you're not really recognizing it. So if you're creating art, you're putting all that money into your art supplies. If you're streaming games, you're buying those games to use for content. So just remember, money will be going into it even if you already were going to purchase those things anyway. It is nice to have some money come back to you to help cover those costs. So with the issues that have been going on with Twitch, if you've not heard about the issues, I recommend you look further into them outside of this video since it's not focusing on them. There have been a lot of hate raids though, a lot of problems in terms of Twitch not really sticking up for their minority creators, especially people of color and those in the LGBTQIA2+ community. They've not shown that they have our backs. So with that being said, a lot of creators have pushed back a lot on Twitch, especially when it comes to the revenue split. So when you have subscribers on Twitch or they use bits, it is a 50-50 split with Twitch. And because of that, you might see someone have 100 subscribers and not realize they're getting half of that, which is pretty rough. That's pretty rough if that's your livelihood, but it's also rough if you just want to be able to make more content utilizing just the funds here so that you're not going broke making content. So I highly, highly recommend you use a secondary platform to create other artwork for your community, other content for your community. This can be either on Fanhouse, Patreon, or I specifically use Coffee. There are other sites out there, but those are the three main ones that most people use. Coffee is the one I use, so I'm going to talk about that since I know it. I know a lot of people are happy with Fanhouse. Fanhouse has a 90-10 split, 90 going to the creator. But Coffee takes no money. You can immediately just join, sign up, and they won't take any money. I personally pay for gold membership. I will include all the info on all of that in the description. And it is a monthly fee to pay for gold, but I personally recommend it. And that is because you can then also open a shop where Coffee will take 0% from your sales. And that's huge. So there's a lot of integration within Coffee that I've utilized. They've also created the tier system. That is something that a lot of people were loving over on Patreon before. And so I currently have 2 tiers of subscribers. I have a $5 tier and a $10 tier. The $5 and $10 have overlap, of course, because everything in the $5 one is included in the $10 tier. But then I add some little additions. So some examples of things I will offer is with the $10 tier, you get a thank you letter at the start of your membership that I handwrite and I send to you, unless you prefer it as an email. I'm also making exclusive content on Coffee, so photos will go up there, my initial cosplay concepts, D&D characters, new games being voted on. I have a specific section in my Discord that is only for my Coffee supporters, and they get to vote on new things I do before anyone else gets to. Also, some of them may not be opened for voting outside of Coffee supporters. So those are little things you can do that are nice incentives for your community that really benefits them and helps push them off of supporting you just on Twitch or on Twitch at all, because the splits and payout are better on other sites and you work hard. So if your community wants to support you in a different way and they get more benefits from it, it's a win-win, I think. But I would really recommend seeing what makes you you. I think that's something I'm also still really working on. But at the end of the day, that's why people are there. People are there because you either do what you do better than anyone else or differently than anyone else, or just because you are you and only you can do that. That makes sense? I at least think that's a decent chunk of the reason people stick around my streams is I'm me. You're not going to go find me on a different stream. Well, actually, you'll find me on Nerds Live channel sometimes, so keep that channel. But you're only going to find me here. So that would be your incentive to hang out, is if you like the personality you see right here, that might convince you to chill for a little while. And I hope that helps a bit. I hope that gives some people ideas on how they can get started in their streaming careers. And I want to continue these segments going forward. I like to give more tips as I learn more, because I'm a little babby streamer and I am learning just as whoever's watching this may be learning. So any tips you might have, feel free to leave in the comments below. And if you have any questions, I'm happy to share more advice and ideas going forward. Thanks everyone, and I'll see you in the next video. If you like this video, click these videos. Yeah, they're a little older, but they're good, I swear.